Just to go back to your Michelle Obama point, I don't think, you know, that even though the language is right on that, it's not going low to play hardball if they're playing hardball.
Yeah.
And I think the Republican Party doesn't believe the Democrats are willing to play at governing the way they do.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you're Pam Bondi or you're Kash Patel or you're somebody else in the government or you're, one of these obstructionists on the Hill or something, you don't behave the way you do. But they believe there will be no consequences for them. Trump is like, well, I've got immunity and I can pardon myself and I can pardon the people around me. If Democrats don't figure out a way to send the message that Republicans will be held accountable for attacking democracy, attacking our cities, withholding funds, trying to eviscerate the Congress's power, et cetera, et cetera, they're going to keep doing it. They're just going to say we're playing a bunch of patsies here. I mean, and I don't even know if this shutdown negotiation is actually going to impact their view that they can just act with impunity.
No, I agree. And, speaking of playing hardball, we're getting some really good statements, especially made by people like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, um, the same with the governor of Oregon. I think they need to take that further. We had one commendable instance I saw on video of a Portland police officer telling an ICE guy in a van who was about to drive into a group of protesters, "You stop right now. You go any further, I will arrest you." And why do we not have Chicago police, Portland police, Illinois state troopers arresting ICE agents or others who are posing in that way, who are violating their own laws, who are assaulting innocent people? You get a guy, a sniper, up on the roof, fires down on an unprotected, unprovoked priest and injures him. There ought to be Portland police heading up to that roof to arrest this guy and throw him in the pokey. You have Texas National Guard coming to Chicago, and the picture of them, by the way, it was a little bit like somebody sent me the picture from Saturday Night Live of John Goodman and the others of Chicago Bears sitting around the Bears. I mean, every one of these people getting out of the plane in Chicago weighed 300 pounds, and clearly it looked like they were all going there for a hot dog eating contest. Have the Illinois State
You know,
Trooper.
everything's bigger in Texas, Norm.
That's right. But after Pete Hegseth talked about no more fatties in the military, it was kind of jarring.
I thought the same thing because
Yeah.
these guys were morbidly obese, one
Yeah.
after another, and they were sort of unloading. But again, Greg Abbott doesn't think there are any consequences to
Yep.
sending Texas troops to invade Illinois.
If I were
How
JB
how can we
Pritzker,
let this be?
yeah. If I were JB Pritzker, I would tell Greg Abbott, you know what? Come next November, I'm sending a ton of Illinois National Guard to protect against the election fraud and intimidation that you are about to unleash. Uh, Let them understand that there are consequences. And frankly, I think you have every reason to have the state troopers arrest the Texas National Guard, among other things, for weapons violations. They're, they're all armed. Of course, that's the other thing. These National Guard people play at war. They have no idea what they're doing. They have no training in any of this. And we're going to see even more consequences. We know in Chicago, we had an instance, and now at least there's a lawsuit being brought about a woman who was shot multiple times, where the ICE agent who shot her said, "She rammed my car." We have video footage that he rammed her car, got out and said, "Say something, bitch," and shot her. So they're suing. I'm sure they'll get a ton of money. Arrest that son of a bitch and charge him with attempted murder. It's time to show that there are consequences for what are outrageous illegal actions by these thugs who are unleashed by Stephen Miller.
Right. And who are violating the law. This is the thing,
Yeah.
systematically. Going into homes without a warrant is a violation of the law. Using force against these people, violation of the law. Rounding up U.S. citizens, violation of the law. And the Trump approach is arrest everybody. If we get a few of them wrong, the courts will sort it out later.
Well, what we also know,
Democrats can play that game too.
what we know is that Stephen Miller set a quota of 3,000 people detained every single day. And we know that these agents who are basically being told that they will be punished if they don't reach the quota are just rounding up anybody, including citizens, throwing them into detention illegally so that they can say they've met that quota.
Um, Based on everything you just said, though, do you think this shutdown is going to end anytime soon?
I believe that the longest shutdown we've had was in the first Trump term. It was 35 days. It's very hard to keep it going for much longer than that because all the people you're relying on in essential places can't go for a long time without getting paid. They'll be offered loans. If you are, let's say that you're making $50,000 a year and uh, you've got a mortgage or a rent payment, and you don't have a lot of money in the bank to pay with the hope and expectation that at some point, months down the road, you'll get it back under the law. And you're told, well, get a bridge loan from a bank in which you're going to have to pay interest, or max out your credit cards in which you will have to pay interest. A lot of these people are going to stop showing up for work, and others are going to bitch like crazy to the president and his cabinet members and the Republicans around them. And the pressure to end this is going to be very substantial. But the key to all of this, going back to where we started, is and what worked with this shutdown, what would have been much more difficult if they Democrats had capitulated for the second time this time around, is they have to make it, and it is already on the way to making it crystal clear that if nothing happens and insurance premiums skyrocket and hospitals close, it's because of Republicans. And that's what will make them end the shutdown and do something about it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's always self-interest, and if they think they're going to lose, if
Yeah,
and by the way, right? I mean, going 35 days will put you squarely on the other side of it, middle of November, I guess, beginning of November, and we're a year out from the election,
yeah.
and that election is looming large. Now, a lot of people are afraid that sending these troops into these cities is part of a sort of a plan to set the stage for intimidating voters in these places. Is that something you're concerned about? And what is it that um, you know people who want to have a free and fair election can do to avoid Trump and company putting their thumb on this?
So let me add, circling back, one thing I didn't mention was Trump, although we knew this was coming, openly talking about invoking the Insurrection Act, declaring martial law, bringing the military in around the country, and maybe canceling the election as a consequence. But that aside, we know that the gerrymandering that they're doing in a number of states is the tip of the iceberg in terms of what they're going to do to try and tilt the election. And we know, among other things, that they're going to try and curtail vote by mail so that there are long lines. And with those long lines, they're going to take all kinds of steps, including sending military and ICE agents to places where there are long lines, in particular in areas where there are lots of Hispanic voters or other people of color, and they will pull citizens out of the line, beat them up, throw them into vans, take them to detention facilities, maybe let them go 2 or 3 days later, all designed to get people to say, Jesus, I better get out of this line. I might be the next one. We know that they're going to do whatever they can to intimidate voters. We know that the Justice Department, which normally acts to protect elections and the rights of voters, is going to be on the opposite side. So, one, we need to make sure, among other things, in the elections ahead, much as I have cringed at what the Democratic candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, Jay Jones, said in a tweet, a vicious one, a couple of years ago, that to allow the cultist Republican Jay Menares to be reelected as Attorney General means that we will have more voter intimidation in Virginia, which is a very important state. So we have to make sure that we get those people elected. We have to make sure that we give money to organizations that are aiming to do voter protection, including Protect Democracy, the Democracy Defenders Fund, and others that are both going to file lawsuits. But also, we need state officials to make sure that they have their forces, their National Guards, their state troopers out to counter whatever intimidation takes place. And at the same time, obviously, we need to make sure that the candidates in these swing districts and states are funded well enough. But we know from what Trump and his thugs have done in cities around the country, in areas around the country, on immigration, that they have no bounds, they have no boundaries. So we can't just rely on laws. We're going to have to find ways to counter intimidation, including the use of force.
Yeah, we can also expect, I think, because he said he's going to do it, Trump to go after New York City in new ways if Zoran Mamdani is elected mayor. Trump refers to him as a communist. Cuomo this past couple of days, who's the Trump candidate right at the moment, said, well, if, Mamdani gets elected, Trump will, invalidate the election, because, he's a communist threat. I mean, he's not a communist, and all this talk is insane. But I think on some level, Trump thinks this works for him with his base. Does it? And doesn't it invite other kinds of retribution?